Have you ever been in love? The kind of love that sweeps you off your feet where nothing else matters and the whole world fades away when you're with that one person. But what happens when that love turns into something darker? Have you ever been so blinded by love that you didn't see the cracks until it was too late? The lies, the betrayal, the heartbreak. What if the person you trusted the most, the one you gave your heart to, used it to hurt you, to break you, piece by piece? This is the story of Amina, a woman who gave everything to the man she loved, only to be shattered by his deceit. And when a heart is broken beyond repair, sometimes it doesn't heal, sometimes it turns into something much more dangerous. So, our story begins. Amina stared out of the window as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with hues of red and orange. Once upon a time, a sunset like this would have brought her peace. But those days were long gone. Peace was a memory, one that had been replaced by the festering wound that had become her life. She remembered when everything was different, when love had been enough, when dagger had been enough. They were just teenagers when they met. Amina had been quiet and shy, but dagger was larger than life, confident, reckless, full of charm. His smile was magnetic, and Amina had been drawn to him despite her better judgment.
I see you watching me.
Dagger teased one afternoon, leaning casually against the school's old brick wall. His smile was wide, confident, almost cocky. Amina tried to play it cool.
I wasn't watching you. You just think you're more important than you are.
Dagger stepped closer, his voice dropping to a whisper.
Or maybe you've just been waiting for me to notice.
That's how it all started, their whirlwind romance. It was wild, passionate, and consuming. By the time they were 18, Amina was pregnant with their daughter Zara. She thought they had it all, but love, as she would learn, doesn't just build, it destroys. The whispers started not long after Zara was born. People in the village talked about Dagger's temper, his reckless behavior. Amina ignored it. Dagger loved her. He loved their daughter. He was a good man, she told herself, until one night, everything changed. Dagger had been out late, and when he returned, there was blood on his hands, both literally and figuratively. He had gotten into a fight, and a woman was killed. He told Amina the woman robbed him and it was self-defense, but the police came for him in the dead of night, dragging him away in handcuffs while Amina stood in the doorway, holding their daughter, her heart breaking. A detective told Amina that Dagger was having an affair with the victim, whose name was Vidya. They found a letter on Vidya stating that if he didn't tell Amina about her, she was going to tell Amina about their affair. So Dagger killed her to prevent Amina finding out.
Tell me it isn't true.
Amina cried, her voice thick with desperation, looking for clarity.
Dagger, please.
Dagger's face was full of regret, but there was something darker there too.
She pushed me too far. It didn't feel like me doing it. I didn't mean to. I lost control.
That night, Amina's world shattered. Dagger was sentenced to prison, and though her friends and family told her to move on, to leave him behind, Amina couldn't. She loved him too much. She believed in him. For years, she visited him every week, sitting across from him in the sterile prison visiting room, holding Zara in her lap, trying to keep their family together.
I'm still here.
Amina whispered one day, pressing her hand against the cold glass.
I'll always be here for you, Dagger. For us.
Dagger would nod, but his eyes were distant.
You're too good for me, Amina. You always have been.
What Amina didn't know was that Dagger had already moved on. Even behind bars, he had found a way to escape, through letters, other women, pen pals who filled his nights with fantasies and promises, women who knew nothing of the man she had sacrificed everything for. Dagger would send large bulky envelopes to Amina for safekeeping with a small note written outside the envelope telling her not to open them, so she complied, never opening any. But one day, while playing with a toy, Zara found the sealed envelopes and opened all of them, giving Amina the contents of different colored smaller envelopes drenched in perfume. There were dozens of them, neatly stacked with a rubber band, filled with love and longing from strangers. Women who had no idea the man they were writing to was the same man who had broken her heart. The next time she visited him, she brought the letters with her. Her hands trembled as she slid the stack across the table.
What is this?
She asked, her voice trembling with a mixture of hurt and fury. Dagger barely glanced at them.
Letters. What else would they be?
He said flatly. Amina's heart tightened, her throat constricting.
I stayed for you, Dagger. I raised our daughter alone. We married one another. And this is what you've been doing?
Dagger leaned back in his chair, his eyes cold and his voice full of pride.
I'm a man, Amina. What did you expect? You thought I was just going to sit here waiting for you? I don't get letters from you when I need them, so what am I supposed to do?
I expected you to be loyal just as I am to you,
she whispered, her voice breaking.
I expected you to love me.
He laughed then, a bitter sound that cut through her like a blade.
Love? You're too soft, Amina. I never asked you to stay. Hell, I never asked you to love me. That was your choice.
That was the moment Amina knew their love had died. She filed for divorce shortly thereafter. In the years that followed, Amina tried to rebuild her life, but the scars Dagger had left behind wouldn't heal. She fell into a new relationship with a man named Maltby, who was everything Dagger wasn't. She felt she could get a better control of everything, avoiding the horrendous sting of betrayal. She didn't fully invest her feelings this time, but she had 2 more children, which deepened the situation. He was white, wealthy, and cruel. Amina deceived herself and fell into another cycle. Maltby was emotionally abusive, financially abusive. He liked his women as well. He never hit her, but his words were just as painful as if he did. She would exchange words back at Maltby to stick up for herself, something she didn't have to do with Dagger.
You're lucky I even stay with you,
he'd say, his voice calm but dripping with venom.
No one else would put up with your pathetic whining and stupid feelings. You can leave, but no one will want you, and don't even think about taking those kids. They are staying with me, you dumb black bitch.
Amina stayed with him for several years, enduring his manipulation, his cruelty. Over time, Amina herself became more cruel and bitter. She didn't want to stay, but she didn't do enough to leave. She didn't know how to stop the cycle of pain she had lived in for so long, so it just became a part of her. Amina felt herself slipping into an internal darkness. Then one day while Amina was at work, Maltby died, just like that, and Amina felt nothing, no sorrow, some relief, just a hollow emptiness where her heart used to be. Years after their divorce, Dagger found Amina again. He showed up at her door, older, quieter, but still Dagger. When she saw him, her heart ached with memories of who they had once been. His embrace was strong, and she felt herself melt like butter in his arms once again.
I've missed you,
Dagger said, his voice soft and full of regret.
I've missed us. Our family.
Amina wanted to believe him. She wanted to believe that they could start over, that the years apart had changed him. They spent nights together talking for hours, the passion rekindled, as if the flame had never truly died. Dagger romanced her. His voice was so titillating it was hard for her to concentrate. For the first time in years, Amina felt alive again. Then, after months of romancing, he stopped. He started ignoring her phone calls. He would lie if he was late for dinner. Amina began to see Dagger hadn't changed. The lies were still there, just beneath the surface, waiting to be uncovered. It didn't take long for the cracks to show even further. Hotel receipts, strange phone calls, late nights that didn't add up. Amina tried to ignore them, tried to convince herself that it was different this time. But it just got worse. Then one night she found the proof she had been dreading. A hotel reservation for a night Dagger had claimed he was out of town for work, but the hotel was just minutes away from their home. Amina drove into the pothole-filled parking lot. She drove slow, but her heart was beating wildly. Then she saw it. Dagger's car in the parking lot. Amina set off the alarm on his car, to see if he would appear, but the alarm stopped. So she set it off one more time. She looked around, and then she seen Dakarai, standing on the balcony outside the room, shirtless and covered in sweat. Amina was crushed. She ran back to her car and went home. When he got back an hour later, she presented him with the printed email receipt.
What is this?
She asked, holding the receipt up to his face. Dakarai barely glanced at it.
Business.
Business?
Amina's voice shook with anger and hurt.
You're still lying to me. After everything we've been through, you're still seeing other women? Why can't you just be with me? Why can't you just stop this crap?
Dakarai shrugged, his voice cold and dismissive.
Woman, look, I pay the bills. What more do you want? You want me to be faithful and provide for you too? Shit don't work like that. Stop acting like a child.
Dakarai continued his affairs, and in doing so, he completely stopped having sex with Amina to accommodate the other women he was sleeping with. She felt like she had to beg him to have sex with her. She seen this as love, even though it wasn't. Regardless of his continued attempts to humiliate, reject, and neglect her emotionally, she kept hoping he would change his ways and love her again like before. The way she wanted him to love her. He paid the bills, made sure the house was taken care of. In his mind, that was more than enough. Anything outside of that was too much.
I take care of everything,
he would say whenever she tried to confront him about their lack of intimacy.
You have nothing to complain about.
You don't take care of every single thing. I work my ass off just as much as you do. Nothing that I do matters now? Why are you doing this to me?
Those who make more have more authority.
But just then, something inside Amina snapped. She no longer cried. She no longer smiled. She no longer laughed. She no longer had a desire to be obedient. She no longer prayed for Dakarai to change. Instead, she wished for something else, something far darker and malicious. Amina let the bitterness and rejection from Dakarai take over her heart, and it spread like a rabid virus. She no longer had a heart of submission, but of rage handed to her directly from Satan himself. Everyone seen she was no longer her normal self. Amina's looks even seemed to change, displaying a more sinister expression. She didn't show herself friendly anymore, and no longer spoke to villagers. She would miss work to spy on Dakarai, watching him with other women. Everything she did was now motivated by a deep-seated hunger for vengeance, and she was bent on it. It was late when Dakarai came home one night, and as usual, he offered no explanation for where he had been. Amina stood by the window, her back to him, staring out into the night.
You waiting up for me again?
Dakarai laughed, tossing his keys onto the table.
I told you, Amina. I take care of the bills. You can't expect me to have sex with you and take care of this house. Stop asking for more. I'm not giving everything to you. It's either sex or bills paid. Your shit ain't good enough for me to provide you with both. Don't you get that by now?
Amina didn't respond.
Amina!
His voice wavered slightly, sensing the shift in the air. Slowly, Amina turned to face him. Her eyes were cold, emotionless.
All I ever wanted was your love and time for us to be together. I never asked for too much. You've killed me, Dakarai. Piece by piece, you've buried me.
That was not Amina's voice, but someone else from a darker realm. Dakarai jumped back from shock.
What the hell is that? Who are you?
Dakarai shouted with fear in his voice.
Oh, I am offended you don't remember me, you old cad. It's me, Vidya. The woman you killed years ago? The woman you took home and screwed during your lunch breaks. You've ran through so many women, it's no surprise you don't remember. You are one angry son of a bitch, aren't you? I found that out too late, I guess. But Amina, sheesh. She is so damaged and broken by you. She damn near welcomed me inside her with open arms. You're a scandalous, pathetic bastard, and dare I say, extremely overrated. I've seen bigger dicks in hell than on you. Ha! Well, I'm done with the small talk. Now it's time to end your tirade.
Amina was possessed by Vidya, a woman he killed years earlier.
Why do you sound like that? This ain't funny, Amina.
Dakarai was in so much shock, he was in disbelief, and considering the circumstances, it was probably for the best.
You can try to scare me all you want to, Amina. But like I said, I ain't doing all that for you. You ain't no stellar chick. You living in a damn fantasy world. Look, don't you see? You ain't got your shape no more. You basically good for nothing like damaged goods. You're just boring now. So get over it. I take care of responsibilities, so I can play whenever I see fit. I ain't a deadbeat.
She stepped closer, her voice dropping to a whisper.
Enough, you lowlife. This crap ends now, and I prefer my meat dark.
Dakarai's heart began to race, realizing too late that something had snapped inside her.
Amina, stop this shit. You're pissing me off.
A slow, eerie smile spread across her face as she continued to walk towards him. Before Dakarai could react, Vidya pulled a knife from behind Amina's back and plunged it into him without hesitation. Dakarai gasped, stumbling backward, his hand clutching his stomach where the blade had pierced him. His eyes were wide with shock, his voice a desperate plea.
Amina, help! Help!
But Amina ignored him and let Vidya take control. She stood over him, her breath steady, her eyes cold.
You took everything from us. Now we're taking everything from you.
Dakarai fell to his knees, blood pooling beneath him.
Please, help me. It hurts. Help.
But Amina's heart had turned to stone. They watched as the life drained from his body, their expression calm.
You'll never hurt Amina again.
Vidya whispered as Dakarai's body went still.
Enjoy hell, you son of a bitch. They've been waiting for you.
As they stood over his lifeless body, watching the blood spread across the floor, Amina felt a sense of finality. Not peace, but closure. She had been broken for too long, waiting for a man who never deserved her love. Now she was free. Dakarai was gone. The pain was gone. Vidya was gone. He couldn't hurt her anymore. Amina took her cash she kept hidden in her lingerie drawer, bundled up her children, and disappeared into the night air. No one heard from her again. For the first time in years, Amina allowed herself to breathe. Not a wise decision what she did, of course, but in her eyes, that was enough. No more mistresses, no more pain, no more hurt. So ends this cautionary tale with one warning. Beware the brokenhearted. If those broken pieces aren't healed, they will be used to form a dagger instead, turning the victim into a villain with the most evil and darkest vendetta of destruction.